If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, like, and share so we can find others like yourself. Welcome to the Bitcoin Basics podcast with your hosts, Faris and Gordon from CoinCompass.com, enabling you to safely buy and securely store your Bitcoins. All resources are in the show notes and description, including our disclaimer. Visit BitcoinBasicsPodcast.com to subscribe and discover other free content.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bitcoin Basics Podcast. I'm your host, Faris, here with my co-host, Gordon. Gordon, how are you doing today?
Good, thanks. Lockdown has been partially lifted, so the beach is open, so I enjoyed a nice stroll, even though it was raining.
Oh, very nice. Well, I'm still coming to you from my bunker in New Zealand. I'm looking forward to getting into a proper house soon, as it is autumn now and starting to get a bit chilly. So, proof of time recording. We are still at the 26th of April. UTC time is 7:33. The blockchain height for Bitcoin is 627,676. And the Bitcoin price, according to Bitstamp, is sitting at $7,554 US. Gordon, what is our question for this evening?
How do Bitcoin exchanges operate? And can you give any advice on choosing a reliable exchange to buy and stock Bitcoin?
Okay, Faris, what is a Bitcoin exchange? Well, how about we tackle that question first?
So there's different types of Bitcoin exchanges. There are some that basically are run very close to being or that are actually a set of business. Some of these like Bitstamp in Singapore. You've got some that are just a purely peer-to-peer exchange, peer-to-peer platforms such as Local Bitcoins and HODL HODL. So they're actually very different. It depends on what you want to do with your Bitcoins. We do actually tackle these in our seminars and webinars, how to log into an exchange, how to buy them, and depending what you want to do, how many Bitcoins you want to buy, what you want to do with those Bitcoins is depending on what exchange you would go to. So this is probably one of those frustrating answers where it really depends on who you are and what you're doing and how many Bitcoins you're buying and what jurisdiction you live in. So if you're in Europe versus Asia versus America, you've got access to different exchanges and you won't have access to some. But overall, as far as what's reputable, well, again, we don't really want to put ourselves in a legally vulnerable position by saying this, that, and the other. We do compare exchanges. We compare how easy they are to use. We compare their security, their operational security, if they have two-factor authentication, and a lot of different factors. So we do reviews and comparisons. And we actually do provide YouTube guides that show you how to log on, set up an account with an exchange, how to get money into an exchange to buy your Bitcoin. If you're using credit cards, some offer credit cards, some don't. So there's a lot of different options out there. They can be very scary for first timers. And that's why people like us exist, where we show you how to do that to protect your Bitcoins and make sure you don't leave them on exchanges, because that's the number one thing is you want to remove your Bitcoins from the exchange and control them yourself. Gordon, there's a lot more to cover on exchanges. I'm sure there's plenty I haven't mentioned that you could chime in on.
I could, but I'll throw it back to you. What is a Bitcoin exchange? What is it? What is it?
No. So a Bitcoin exchange is basically where you go to buy or sell your Bitcoins. So it is not like a bank, because you don't actually walk into a bank and sell your dollars at a bank. Think of it as a marketplace. So Bitcoin exchange is a marketplace. You go there if you want to buy Bitcoins from someone or sell Bitcoins from someone. An exchange facilitates that. So some exchanges will actually just buy your Bitcoins directly off of you. They'll hold on to them and sell them to someone else. Other exchanges will just facilitate an introduction, where they're introducing two people who then figure out, how am I going to get my Bitcoins to you? How are you going to get your dollars or yen or euro to me? So Bitcoin exchange is a marketplace.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I think a lot of people just say, oh, it's just like a bank, but actually, no, as Ferris suggested. It's a meeting place for buyers and sellers that a platform facilitates it. Now, without avoiding the question, I think we can answer some of the options out there, and we've discussed these on previous episodes. If you're in the West, there are many international exchanges like Coinbase and Kraken and Bitstamp and a few others. Again, this is not a recommendation or endorsement, but simply from what we've used in the past. I like Binance for all the reasons I've mentioned in the past, and we just did a trading podcast on that. But I like Binance simply because it's got the lowest fees, it's got the most amount of fiat pairs. Fiat is, your government money. And it's fairly simple, fairly intuitive to use. So I would say Binance is probably one of the best ones to get started. And it's also not based in the USA. And that's not to avoid tax or regulation or any of that. But the ones that are based in the USA, you tend to jump through a lot more hoops. But regardless of what exchange you use, just buy a little bit. So don't put your life savings into it. Don't buy $100,000 on your first go. Just buy a small amount. Whatever that small amount is for you, $50, $100, or whatever. So just to get started. And as Ferris mentioned, we are answering this exact question in our webinar. So coincompass.com/webinar, sign up for that. And we are actually going to go through 2 segments: how to buy Bitcoins safely and how to store your Bitcoins securely. So buying Bitcoins is only half of the solution. The other half is actually to get your Bitcoins off the exchange. So sign up for our webinar, have a look at that. Also, our newsletter. I know this is a bit of self-promotion here, but our newsletter has our current recommendations for Bitcoin exchanges, private and most liquid ones, or the ones that are easy to trade at, and also our recommendations for wallets and other things as well. So you can also get a free weekly newsletter. The first issue is actually coming out this Monday. So go ahead to coincompass.com/newsletter and sign up for that.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe, like, and share so we can find others like yourself.
One important factor as well with Binance is that their CEO, Changpeng Zhao, who just goes by CZ, is a very public figure. And I think that's really important for someone who's running basically the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, in that he's out there, he's public, and it's not like he can actually disappear somewhere. Very recognizable figure. If you have exchanges out there where you don't know who the CEO is, you don't know who's running it, and this has happened, your Bitcoins will disappear. That CEO will just vanish into thin air with everyone's Bitcoin. So Binance is good for that reason, because the CEO is a very public figure. He's very active on Twitter. If there's anything wrong with the trading platform, if there's any, if they have to trade a holding for some reason, he's on Twitter right away. Very active communicator.
So what you're saying, he's unlikely to escape to another country and have his wife fake a death certificate and do an exit scam on everyone.
So that reference that Gordon's making is something that has actually happened with a Bitcoin exchange.
Yeah, it has. So use something reputable. I'm not saying Binance is the only exchange. There are plenty of exchanges. There's probably 5 or 6 exchanges in your country. But use a reputable exchange. Use an exchange that's been around for a while and it's well established. Last but not least, the question asked about where to store your Bitcoin. Get your Bitcoin off an exchange, even if it's only $100 or $50. Some people think, well, it's only $50. I'll just leave it on an exchange. But, even if it's only $50, wallets software is free. And a lot of the wallets we recommend in our newsletter actually enable you to take custodianship, take actual ownership of your Bitcoin anyway. So why not have your Bitcoins in your mobile phone rather than an exchange? Just makes sense, even if it's a small amount of money. And the second reason is it's just good practice. It's kind of like, you don't necessarily have to wear a seatbelt if you're only traveling 100 meters or 200 meters down the road, but just to get into a good habit, because, sometimes you might forget, and it's just good practice. So get your Bitcoins off an exchange. And if you want to find out more, sign up to our webinar.
Oh, thank you, Gordon. And that's $50 today, but that could be easily worth $500 a year from now.
Thanks for watching or listening.
please visit coincompass.com/free to register to our socials and discover other free content. Subscribing, liking, and following helps this content remain ad-free. Until next time.